Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of our data web series. My name is Signe. I work in the travel audience marketing team based in Amadeus office in Madrid.
Also from my side, a very warm welcome today. My name is Marzena. I work at Travel Audience in Berlin on the team that works with DMOs to bring incremental visitors to their destination. And today I would like to welcome you to the second episode of our web series. Last week we covered an introductory episode called A Journey Through Data. And today we're looking at how search data can shape your recovery strategies.
Yes, in the last week's episode we were looking at the traveler's journey and how it's connected with different data sets. So mapping out what data sets we get at each point of traveler's journey. What we learned is that getting actionable insights from the travel data might be quite complex, but at the same time it's a very valuable source of making your decision-making process more easy. Last time we also looked at different aspects of artificial intelligence and big data, especially in the travel industry. So if you're interested, make sure that you check out our first episode. And today's episode, we're going to be exploring more in detail the demand. If you're interested, when would be a good time to relaunch your marketing activities? In this episode, we will give you some ideas of how the online search data could help you in shaping the recovery strategies. The demand data is extremely important when we're talking about online marketing, and we're going to be covering different aspects today. Particularly, we're going to take a closer look of how online search data can help you identify the interests and preferences of your travelers. We're also going to be talking about how you can use online search data to manage visitor flow, so attracting more visitors during the off-peak season. And we're also going to look at the overall relevance when it comes to designing and creating effective marketing campaigns. So at this point, you might be wondering, where do we even start when we think about demand and recovery strategies? Well, actually, it all starts with a signal. We see some small signals appearing here and there, and they're pointing us towards some changes. These signals are showing us that travelers are feeling ready and excited to travel again. There's a lot of discussion around the emotional and psychological aspects related to travel, and we all certainly need to learn what the new normal means to us. Being part of the travel industry, we are committed in supporting our customers in this process of reconnecting with their travelers, in bringing back joy to travel and ensuring that travel keeps being one of the major boosters for global progress and prosperity.
And speaking of joy, let's look at these German travelers that just arrived in Mallorca as part of a tourism pilot project. So they were actually able to enter Spain before the borders officially opened. And I think part of their joy is due to the special relationship that Germans have with Mallorca. But in the interview, they actually mentioned that they felt very safe and that they very much enjoyed the empty beaches, which I'm sure we can all understand. It might not be an easy psychological step for many people to start traveling again after the last few months, especially for people that might be in the risk group or people that are not frequent travelers. But we actually see on our side the signals that indicate that people are ready to jump on a plane again or take a train or car and go on their next trip. And we see this exactly through those signals that we just talked about, through searches that people do for accommodation and flights on the demand data.
Yes, and it's our job to keep our eyes and ears open so we can monitor, collect and analyze these signals. Essentially, these signals are what we then call the search data. As this data set is directly linked to demand, it's the very first place where we can start looking for signs of recovery. And when we think about demand data in the context of tourism and tourism destinations, we most commonly refer to the online search activity. So when travelers enter websites, search engines, or online travel agencies to get inspired, to search for flight options, or to essentially choose the destination they're going to visit. And I personally always find it rather fascinating how a simple search query in an online travel agency or they give so much insights to a destination. So from this one query, we can already know where the traveler is based and what are their travel preferences. So when are they going to travel, or how long are they willing to stay in the destination, and essentially what other destinations they are considering when searching for your destination.
Discovering that your destination is searched for can actually be very helpful in coming up with your campaign strategy, as it will help you find out when is the right and most impactful time to influence those travelers. Well, we know that travelers usually visit a lot of websites and compare many different destinations with each other before they actually make the decision where to go on their next trip. The demand data indicates the potential that your destination actually has. You can see in this customer journey funnel that there are many websites that are user visits during different stages in the journey before taking a decision. In theory, every search to your destination is a new opportunity for you to attract a visitor. It means that travelers are already interested in your destination. If the data shows the opposite, that there's a low number of searches and low demand, it means that you have to take a step back and first do some inspiration on your destination and let visitors know that your destination is the right one for them. Only then can you go into the performance part and start converting those travelers.
And actually, if we're speaking about inspiration, Amadeus recently launched a new research study that's exploring travel inspiration. So we asked travelers around the world what were their motives in choosing a particular destination. Well, most of the travelers said it's the recommendations from family and friends. This answer actually accounted for 58% in North America, 54% in Spain, 48% in UK, so the vast majority. But the interesting part comes in that there are some markets that get their inspiration a bit different. So for example, Japanese travelers said that they get inspiration from travel websites and blogs. And actually 1 in 3 Japanese admitted that they use travel magazines as a major source for inspiration. What these insights are telling us is that it's very important to also have inspirational and awareness campaigns, because essentially it's what's going to stimulate the overall demand to your destination.
And demand data is also crucial for coming up with your campaign logic. Knowing what other destinations users are searching for will give you a clear picture of who you are actually competing with. If you go one step further and analyze the demand behavior that travelers show when searching for competitors, you can then adapt your offer and advertising to convert these travelers. In order to define the competitors for a certain destination and a certain market, we take the Amadeus search data and combine it with our data that we get from data partners, such as OTAs, Metas, and other travel websites. And all these insights combined give us an opportunity to give you a very clear picture of your similar destinations, or competing destinations in this case.
And speaking about competitors, Marjane, what do you think are the main competitors for Greece when looking at the DACH market?
From the top of my head, I would probably say Italy and Spain.
Well, you are right, but only partially. Let's look at the data. So on the visualization on the screen, we have mapped out the destinations that are often searched together when people are searching for Greece. So we have the different bubbles organized by how similar they are, so from bottom to top, and also based on the amount of searches they get overall. So the destinations that are on the top right side are the ones that are most similar in the eyes of the DACH market. What we can see here with the color coding is that yes, the destinations you mentioned, Marjane, like Spain and Italy, are there, but there's also a lot of different Greek islands. What this tells us is that when people have decided that Greece is among their top choices, their main decision process is rather choosing to which Greek island they want to go, and they're not considering other destination countries so much. So this is something very important to consider when launching a marketing campaign. An important thing to notice here is that this data refers to 2019, so well before the COVID-19 crisis. So let's see if the picture has changed somewhat if we're looking at the current data. So here we see the same analysis, but from March to June this year. And we can straight away see that the lineup is completely different. So now Greece is competing with smaller destinations in Croatia, Egypt and Turkey. So we have a completely new similarity scale. This could be, to some extent, explained by the fact that there is generally lower online activity during these months, but could also mean that travelers are now choosing destinations based on different things than before. So rather than looking at similarities in the nature or attractions, they're focusing more on the safety or the fact if the destination is open or not. And here an interesting part is that if you look on the top right, there's a small village in Catalonia called Falset, which appears to be the most searched destination together with Greece. That's quite interesting, and it could very well be linked to the Experience Catalonia campaign that they did recently, and they were promoting this lovely little winemaking village as the heaven for wine and olive lovers. So basically the very same things that Greece is famous for.
These similar destination slides are actually one of the favorite pieces of information that our data team pulls for me when we start a project together with a destination. Because a lot of times there's a lot of big surprises for destinations there, a lot of competing destinations that they didn't expect to see there or never even thought of. But demand is not actually only what destinations need to know about. The next step would be to make sure that the destination is able to actually address it. For example, what happens if there's a lot of demand but not enough flights to meet that demand? On this slide, you can see our findings related to Jamaica's air connectivity. So you can see that for every 10,000 searches from these European cities, there is as little as only 8 actual travelers that arrive to the destination. So that shows a big discrepancy between the demand and the actual flight connections to that destination. And there is a great opportunity to attract more visitors by supplying more airplane seats, especially in the current situation. By having these insights, a destination can start negotiating with airlines to add more flights to existing routes or actually open brand new routes. If a destination can demonstrate with actual data that demand is there and that it's growing, they actually have a very powerful piece of information to share with the airline, and it will make their point come across much stronger. As many destinations are starting to gradually lift the lockdowns, we're looking in the horizon and seeing some signs for optimism. Where can travelers actually go this summer or even beyond summer? In addition to different reports in the news, there is a great website by the European Union that gives a lot of information for every European country in a very visual way. It has been crucial for destinations to keep travelers up to date, making it clear when their countries reopen and under what conditions. So speaking about destinations reopening their borders, Greece would be a great example to talk about here. They were actually not hit as hard by the pandemic as other European countries. So as a result, they were one of the first to reopen their borders. And what we've seen on our side was that there was a huge demand and actually a lot of bookings right away to Greece.
And when we're looking at the surge demand evolution, we can actually see this big boost. So now on the screens, you're seeing the search evolution to destination Greece comparing 2 different years. So you can see that in 2019, the white line, it was a steady search volume throughout the year. And then with the slightly pink line in 2020, we can see that the traveler behavior has been very different. So first of all, a huge drop in March, but then the line is starting to pick up little by little. And Greece was actually really good at capturing this boost in demand, and they acted very proactively in starting campaigns and using this as a sign that travelers are searching for Greece again. And this next graph actually shows us that their efforts of marketing have really proved off. So what you see here is the relative market share of Greece when compared to the competitors. So calculating how many of the overall searches go to Greece. So in 2019, we see that popularity of this destination, it's quite steady throughout the year, but 2019 is showing a huge change in the traveler behavior. So ever since of May, Greece is much more popular than the other destinations. So this really proves that marketing activities can change the perception of the destination. And we understand that in the current situation, it's more challenging than ever to know when to relaunch the marketing campaigns, or even in which markets you should focus. What we're doing on our side is doing micro-level analysis, which means we're closely monitoring different origin markets and their evolution week by week. So here on the screen you can see this analysis for Greece market in particular from 4 different origins. Straight away it's apparent that different markets are recovering at different rates. So for example, United States, we can see that from mid-March the volumes are quite low and still quite at a low level. On contrary, the European markets have been showing a steady growth ever since of May. So this is the sign that you're looking for when thinking about relaunching marketing campaigns and capturing the traveler attention again.
One of the great benefits of having access to demand data is that you can actually see both the date on which the users are searching and the date that they are searching for. So when do they essentially want to travel? Both activities, searching and traveling, have different seasonalities. So we have the demand seasonality by search date and the demand seasonality by travel date. Having visibility on both helps to advertise in a smarter and more effective way. We usually think of seasonality as overcrowded beaches in the summer and empty ones in the winter. And usually it is like this, but currently we're facing unprecedented and unusual times. It might seem that seasonality lost its meaning in the new reality. But let's think on what seasonality is in a nutshell. It's periods of high and low demand for a destination. So this new reality can be seen as a period of low demand or off-peak season. Let's look at how to use data to plan advertising activities and inspire visitors to come in off-peak season.
Yes, in this example we can see the surge demand seasonality to 3 different destinations. So we have Malaga and Sevilla, so 2 destinations in Spain, and also Rovaniemi, a lovely city in Lapland in Finland. So here the information is organized by the month when travelers are willing to come. So we get the seasonality that Marzena mentioned by travel date. So straight away we can identify which are the peak times and which are the low season times. So for Malaga and Sevilla, it's mainly the summer months, or in case of Sevilla, the April months when they have a special festival. But it's very different for Finland, where most of the travelers are willing to come in during the Christmas months. So having this visibility of different travel periods already gives you some ideas for your marketing activities. So for example, you might want to promote the peak times differently to attract high spend visitors, and on contrary focus on the low volume months to just boost general traveler arrivals. But when it comes to knowing when to start the activity, it's a good idea to look at the seasonality by search date as well. And it can also help in identifying what kind of creatives you can use for your promotional campaigns. So for example, if you know that people that are searching now are planning to travel in the Christmas months, you might want to adapt your banners to explore a bit more this interest. And actually in this next graph, we can already see how it plays out. So here we have taken the search volumes that we're observing in the last 2 months and organized it by the period the travelers are considering for their travels. So you can see that for Malaga and Sevilla, the travelers are really active for searching travel during the summer months. So the market is already using the last minute opportunity to still get some sun in the summertime. For Finland, it's a bit different story. So we see this little peak for the Christmas time that previously we have identified as the high season, but at the same time, there's a huge volume for summer travels. So this means that the current situation has slightly changed traveler preferences, and now they're considering Lapland also for travels during July and August. So what we just saw are very good examples showing how destinations might want to use insights to capitalize this interest and essentially know what travelers are looking for and at what time.
We can see that DMOs started to embrace this new reality and actually turning their challenges into opportunities. So in an example of a popular destination that a lot of people went to party, and it was very popular for its nightlife, which currently of course is paused because it's closed, destinations could potentially think about reopening as a family resort. Some of these destinations have beautiful beaches, amazing nature, and a good infrastructure. They could become a great option for families, at least for this year. It would be important first to understand if there is actual demand for them and to go deeper into the travelers' profiles. Data gives an opportunity to make informed decisions, and when combined with advertising, a destination can reposition itself as a family destination.
And if we're talking about adapting, what data is showing us, and I think also from our personal experience, we can see that domestic travel is really the dominant aspect of this summer travels. So even though many countries are starting to open their borders, there's still a lot of uncertainty around traveling. So it's the domestic and short-haul travels that are picking up for this summer. So people want to go away, but not so far away. Well, at least for this summer. And we can also see this trend reflected in data. So what you see here on the screen is a look at the German domestic market, and we have gathered the data from our data partners. So this also shows the data not only for flight search, but also different means of transport like train or hotel searches. And what we can see that the trend is very prominent from the March 2020. So there's actually more searches to travel domestically now than there were at this time in 2019. So this insight really proves that domestic travel is more popular than ever, and it's here to stay.
DMOs in Germany have actually been very successful in promoting their destination to catch the rising demand for domestic travel. And they reacted with some very well-crafted and beautiful marketing campaigns. We actually really like this one by Sächsische Schweiz, which is proving the point that you don't need to travel far from home to get an amazing experience. They're actually comparing different sites that you can see in their region to faraway places. Sometimes the hidden gems are closer than we think, I guess. We are certainly living in interesting times. There was a quote by Tom Friedman, a columnist of the New York Times, who said that our generation will come to think of BC and AC as before Corona and after Corona. And I think it's upon us to define how the world after Corona will actually look like. So maybe we should work together to reignite the joy of travel and restore travelers' confidence in our destination and actually let them know that we are waiting for them to come back.
And to conclude on this more optimistic note, let's take a look of the things we have learned today. So we have learned that demand data is directly linked to the interest and potential of your destination, and also that by looking at demand data, we can actually learn a lot about our destination and essentially know how to promote it better. And last but not least, we have found out the travelers are already excited and ready to travel again. So this is the time to reignite confidence and start adapting to the new normal. Well, that's the end of our episode today. Thank you very much for joining, and we really hope that you found it useful. Next week, we're going to be looking at the booking data, so make sure to join if you want to know what travelers are booking today. Thank you very much, and see you next time.